Moving can be a nightmare, especially when you're moving to an area or city you're unfamiliar with. Where should I live? What type of housing should I be looking at? Should I be looking at a condo or a house? What are the pros and cons of each? All common questions I hear almost every day. If you're thinking about moving or relocating to Columbus, Ohio, you might be asking some of these same questions yourself, or maybe you're starting to do a little bit more research. Well, in this video, I'm going to break down the types of housing we have in Columbus because it gets a little bit confusing, especially if you're moving from outside the area. I'm going to discuss fee simple properties, condos, the difference between patio homes and condos, what is a patio home anyhow, along with the mistakes buyers often make that I want to make sure you, the buyer, avoid. And it all starts right now. So let's go! If you're new to my channel, my name is Mark Van Stein. I make videos on what it's like living in Columbus, Ohio. I cover things like the best schools, neighborhoods, areas, cost of living, and all things you need to know about living in Central Ohio. I try to give the viewer a really good understanding of what it's like to live here. If you find the video informative, please do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button down below. It just lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job. If you're trying to learn more about Central Ohio, make sure you subscribe because I'm making new videos every week, not only about Columbus, but its many suburbs as well. Most importantly, if you're thinking about relocating or moving here, make your life a little easier and let me and my team help. I'm a licensed RE/MAX realtor and have been helping people move and relocate to Columbus for almost 2 decades now. I'm actually a 3rd-generation real estate agent, and my family co-owns our brokerage. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I literally get people reaching out every week, and we love to help. One of the great things Columbus has going for it is it has many wonderful areas to live. It really just depends on what you're looking for and where you're at and what I like to refer to as your life's journey. Are you single or do you have a partner? Are you looking for something a little bit more urban or are you more comfortable out in the suburbs? If you're trying to answer that question, check out this video on my channel where I break down the differences between living out in the suburbs and living downtown. There are also a couple other videos that might be of interest to you where I cover 6 popular downtown neighborhoods or 4 of the most popular suburbs. Whatever part of the city you decide to live, it's important to know what type of housing is available and what the differences are. So let's break that down. Make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to give you an awful example that literally cost me thousands of dollars on one of my properties, and I do not want this to happen to you. Let's start with fee simple properties or your basic single family home. This is the one that most people are familiar with and I won't spend a lot of time on it. When you buy a single family home, you're typically purchasing everything, the structure, the land, the whole kit and caboodle. When you make this type of purchase, everything should be spelled out in the purchase contract, including any parcels of land being sold with the property. Now, I'll cover a common mistake buyers make a little bit later in the video, but it's of extreme importance to understand what's coming with the sale and not to make any assumptions. Single-family homes are typically going to be the easiest type of purchase, especially if they are in a newer planned community. The lots are parceled off nicely, the property lines are clear, it's usually pretty straightforward. When you get into some of the older neighborhoods or the metro area, it can be all over the place. Homes have shared driveways, there are easements, parts of homes hang over onto each other's properties, totally nuts. The most important thing is you completely understand what you are buying and how it lays out on that property. In many neighborhoods, especially newer planned communities, there's going to be an homeowners association or HOA, which will have rules and regulations for the community. You should investigate how strong the association is and how they go about enforcing the rules. Under most circumstances, I think HOAs are a good thing. They protect the integrity of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, there are lots of examples of HOA boards going off the rails and the neighborhood becoming a police state. There was a commercial a couple of years ago that poked fun at an HOA that I found pretty funny. I think it had to do with the mailbox being the wrong size and one of the board members taking a chainsaw to it. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not far from the truth. Have you ever had a crazy HOA board? Drop it in the comments down below. I would love to hear about it. Fences are a good example of something that many HOAs don't allow or have restrictions around, and buyers don't realize that until it's too late. I mentioned fences in another one of my videos on this channel because there's a lot of restrictions around fencing in Central Ohio, especially in the newer subdivisions. Listen, there are pros and cons to everything, especially HOAs. Just please make sure you understand the rules and regulations of the neighborhood prior to purchasing a property. Next are fee simple properties. Now this might be a situation where you would own the entire structure inside and out, but not own the land it's sitting on. The land would be owned by a homeowners association who would be responsible for its maintenance and upkeep. This would include things like snow removal, cutting the grass, landscaping, paving roads, the parking lot, etc. The homeowners would pay a monthly fee to the association for the upkeep of the common areas. The advantage to these type of properties is you don't have to worry about the lot, just the house. There's no going out once a week and mowing the lawn in the 90-degree heat or shoveling snow when it's 5 degrees out. The downside is obviously the monthly payment to the homeowners association and the manner of which the common areas are being kept. These associations are only as good as the people on the board. If the board is well run and on top of things, then there usually aren't any problems. But if it's a poorly run board, it can be a nightmare. There is a huge legal situation currently going on in Worthington, which is one of the reasons why I want you to be so diligent if you're purchasing a property in Columbus. There's a community that originally was an apartment complex that was converted into fee simple properties years and years ago. The properties don't have garages, but there are parking spaces right in front of each townhome. When the developer split up the units, the parking lot was put under its own parcel number and no ownership was given to the individual homeowners, and no homeowners association was set up either. So no one paid taxes on this piece of property for years. The city ended up selling it off for unpaid taxes in a tax sale. Some investor bought it and is now charging the homeowners a monthly parking fee just to park right in front of their own townhouses. Absolutely crazy. You cannot make this stuff up. The homeowners are obviously fighting it. We'll have to see what happens. Can you imagine having to pay for parking right in front of your own home that you've been using for years? Again, I can't stress enough that you have to be complete understanding on what you're purchasing when you buy a property. Let's move on to patio homes next because it's a term a lot of people don't understand, especially if you're not from the area. Patio homes are designed for homeowners who want to live more in a full-size home but not interested in having yard or doing any outdoor maintenance. As the homeowner, you own all the structure and the land which it sits, but there will be an association that will usually cover cutting the grass, snow removal, landscaping, etc. Patio homes are usually on the very, very small lots and good for homeowners who don't want to have or need for a large outdoor area. It can sometimes be confusing when you're searching for homes in Columbus because these patio homes will often pop up in people's searches, but clearly they're not going to work for everyone. The easiest way to identify if the property is a patio home is to look at the size of the lot. It's going to be pretty small, like 1/10 of an acre. You can also look at the monthly dues for the community. If they are high, hundreds of dollars a month, there's a good chance that's a patio home as well. You can also tell if you look at the Google Maps, you can see the houses clustered together. That's usually going to be a patio home community. Despite being on smaller lots, patio homes can get quite expensive, almost as much as a normal home would cost. They're also becoming very popular with people who want to downsize from large multi-bedroom homes, but want to keep a decent amount of square footage. Builders have recognized this, especially with the baby boomer generation downsizing, and have been building quite a few of them the last decade. There is a newer subdivision in Olentangy Schools called Evan Farms that looks like it might be a patio home community, but it's not. The neighborhood is a new style for Columbus. The whole subdivision is built around the concept of new urbanism, which was starting to take off across the country prior to COVID. The concept is that the homes are built on very small lots with more of a walkable community with more common areas, parks, and green space. Now, COVID changed a lot of that sentiment a little. When people were stuck at home, they started putting more of a priority on larger spaces, dedicated office, yards for their kids to play. I'm eager to see how this concept goes into the future. If the concept sounds interesting to you, just drop me a comment below and I'll be able to get you some more information. Lastly, let's talk about condos and the couple of different types of condos you will find around Columbus. Let me first define the difference between a condominium and a fee simple property. In a fee simple property, you own the entire structure, the roof, the windows, the chimney, everything. It's your property. In a condominium, you only own the interior space of the building or from the studs in. The homeowners association owns the structure and is responsible for the roof, the exterior walls, as well as the land. The windows, patios, decks, and stoops are usually the homeowner's responsibility, however. In a condominium situation, you will pay a monthly fee to the condo association for the upkeep of the structure and the land, and that fee can be all over the place, from a couple $100s a month to a couple $1,000s a month, depending on the building and community. If you're looking downtown at condos in a mid or high rise, I think it's important to mention that we call those units condos. I lived in New York City for a number of years after college, and people often refer to their units as apartments, even if they own them. In Columbus, the term apartment will refer to a rental property. The term condo refers to ownership. The other type of ownership, which is popular in New York City and in some other cities in the United States, are co-ops. In a co-op, you don't own the individual unit, you own a share of the building or a share of the corporation that owns the building. It gets a little bit confusing. Just know that's something that's not that popular here in Columbus. In Central Ohio, you'll primarily find three types of condos: flats, townhome or Cape Cod style, and freestanding condos. Flats or ranch style are single story and might be located in a mid or high rise building. You'll also find many ranch and two-story attached condos throughout the city. Freestanding condos are going to be a little bit more rare, actually very rare, but they're still going to be out there. In a freestanding condo, the homeowners association owns the exterior, but there's usually a provision that the homeowner pays a very high percentage of the exterior repairs that need to be done. Like in some cases I've seen, the first $5,000. It's like having an insurance policy with a really high deductible. You as the homeowner are going to end up being responsible for most of it. Whether you are buying a single family home, fee simple property, or a condominium, and there's a homeowners association involved, you're really going to want to make sure you review not only the rules and regulations of the community, but also the financials as well. The rules and regulations should be pretty straightforward. The financials will be a little bit more involved. You want to try to not only make sure the HOA is well run, but also fiscally responsible. One of the issues when an association isn't run well or not in good fiscal health is you can get a special assessment. What's a special assessment? Well, let's say you own a condo and there are 100 units in your community. They're all about 20 years old and all the roofs need to be replaced. Unfortunately, your association hasn't been budgeting enough money for the roofs to be replaced, or maybe it's just going to be more expensive than they thought. So they charge a special assessment to all the homeowners to make up the difference. These special assessments can be a common occurrence, especially in older or poorly run communities. This is my example of a special assessment. I own investment properties. One of my condos just had a special assessment and the building really isn't even that old. All the balconies in this building had to be replaced, so the homeowners association had to assess all the owners $3,500. It's something that wasn't planned for by the HOA and quite frankly shouldn't have been necessary in a building that's less than 20 years old, but it's a good example of the challenges and hidden expenses of owning a condo. Hopefully you found it beneficial having me explain the different types of properties we have here in Columbus, Ohio. If you did, please give me a thumbs up down below. Take a look at some of the other helpful videos on this channel where I go into depth on some of the more popular areas and suburbs, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the new ones I release. I would also love to hear any questions you might have about Columbus. Just drop them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. Finally, if you're moving or relocating to Columbus, make sure you give myself and my team a call. You've probably sensed that I'm super diligent in helping people not only buy great homes, but also trying to protect them as much as possible during the sale. It is so very, very important you have a professional realtor helping you purchase in Columbus, not just somebody who's going to sell you something. Because you really want to make sure not only do you buy a nice home, but you also make a good investment as well. You can call me, text me, email me. My contact information is at the end of the video and down below. Until next time.